Did he get this picture from your page or something?
I don't know where they coming from. I just think that when white people see a bunch like the troll whites, whenever the troll whites see a bunch of niggas in the space, they just like to come.
Man, ain't no white people coming in here to troll you, dog. He's too stupid. Nobody cares.
I like these too.
Yeah, hey, bro, you sound sexy. I like your little accent.
I like the way you sound. I like the way your mouth look.
I'm gonna put some hummus on my dick and put it down your throat.
Hummus, man. Papa Ganoush that shit, dog.
What the fuck is going on?
That's what
We putting Baba Ganoush on our dicks and shoving it in people's throats like psychopaths, motherfucker. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, eat that, eat that, eat that, Baba Ganoush.
Throat sound warm.
Hey John, I have a question.
Yeah, what's up, dog?
How long are you able to fake your voice like that?
Forever and ever and ever and ever.
You sound like a pimp named Slickback.
Ooh, dog.
Oh, man, no, that's talent. That's talent.
Hello?
What's up?
Hello?
Yeah, we can.
What's up?
Hello?
What's up?
Free Palestine.
Okay, free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
I fuck with that. I'm not mad at that.
Actually, not.
That's what's up, dog. Put that Baba Ganoush and that hummus on your dick and shove it down your throat, motherfucker.
Nah, my shit not long enough for me to put it down.
I fuck with that. I'm not mad at
Actually,
that.
not. I want.
That's right. It's called yoga. Yogurt in your mouth.
Yo, just crazy.
You need boy today or something?
Calling all essential workers. If you're interested in a high paying local job at 55 an hour and you are in need of a great job with terrific benefits and you only have to work about 15 hours a week and get paid for a full 50 hours, that's overtime, ladies and gentlemen. We're looking for essential workers that are essentially workers only.
What the fuck?
Hello?
Oh, what's up, good?
Hello?
What's up, Dad?
Hey, Ari,
What's up?
why you told that to DDG?
Oh, man.
the man ratio the fuck out of DDG.
Oh, God, that's gonna get his page deleted.
Yeah.
That's why DDG done sent all them bots to his page.
Yeah, there was a lot of bias and shit.
I mean, the answer is clearly obvious. You know, you want Israel, but to people maybe who don't really know what serves them better, do you want to put your allyship with a proven ally, another Western-leaning civilization in Israel, or do you want to put your trust and money, if you will, into a terrorist regime in Iran? And I think the answer is clear. You need to lean with your allies in Israel.
I would agree with you, but
Yeah.
if you think about it strategically, for the long term, yeah, Israel. For the short term, you would get 10 years of quietness before the IRGC would start doing fishy stuff with the nuclear program.
Yeah.
But you're gonna get 10 years of silence, and I think you saw that on Israel as an example, when we thought that we are buying some sort of quietness from Hamas as well by saying, okay, we're some sort of like having communication channels with our enemy, and they have their money, they have their stuff, they can continue their things, and we do our things, and everything will be fine. And then one day you realize that you've been raising a monster, and I think that this would be the case with the Iranian regime, but presidents, they don't stay president for like 20 years, like fucking Russia, They stay 4 years, 8 years, okay, cool, or they come back again, but like that's it. And they want to achieve as much as they can during this period of time. And this is why many of them choose this short-term solution that later become a huge problem. And unfortunately, that has been the policy of the United States administration for a really long time.
It's definitely not a bad idea to not be at total odds. Like, you don't want to escalate into a full scale war with the regime. Obviously, you don't want to. Nobody wants to go to war. However, you do need to make it very clear. Like, and Trump did a really good job of that when he took office the first term. He almost bankrupted the regime, and then obviously Biden gave them back, so much money. But you make it very clear where you stand. Like, we're not going to allow you to do what you've been doing. This is not going to work. And you make the regime bend the knee to you, as opposed to bending the knee to the regime. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Brian, what you got for us?
Well, I was just thinking, if you look at the foreign policy picks of him so far, take Marco Rubio. He is very strongly pro-Israel. He is very hawkish on Iran. So if the question is, will they go for the proven ally Israel, or the enemy possibly ever in the future a possible partner, but current enemy Iran, then I think his policy picks send a very strong message in that regard. And I have to say, when I see his foreign policy teams, Rubio, Stefanik, Huckabee, I'm very reassured, because, at least for Israel. And also, in that regard, for Iran, for any of the Iranian people in here, because this will be a foreign policy team, at least if they continue the line that they've so far held in their current positions, where they will want to confront the Islamic regime. And they would not, I think, fall for a trap like you saw kind of manage an enemy. Like Israel, for instance, did for many years with Hamas, trying to manage and contain. No, they realized that this regime, at the end of the day, sooner or later, any agreement will only be for them temporary. Any agreement for the Islamic regime will just be a period for them to rearm, get stronger, and get ready for a next blow against the West. Because fundamentally, the ideology hasn't changed. Fundamentally, they're still so anti-Western. Fundamentally, still every Friday, they say death to Israel and death to America, death to the small Satan and death to the great Satan. And that is what Rubio knows, because it keeps your enemies guessing, and at the same time, your main advisors are strongly pro-Israel, and they know exactly what kind of regime they have to deal with. So it gives me a lot of confidence for the future. And with that, back to you.
I want to add one more thing, Noya. Sorry, my head is not working. So
No problem. Go ahead, Leslie.
I would start right now. I would be more worried about what would be the U.S. stand on Turkey before I get worried about the stand on Iran. That Turkey is a NATO country. The Hamas leadership just moved to Turkey. So that also means if Israel wants to take out any of the Hamas leaders in Turkey, what does that mean? Does that start Article 5? Does that mean the entire NATO goes against Israel? What's going to be the stand of the U.S. on that? I think it's very, very important as well, because I see also Turkey as a huge danger, beyond Iran.
I totally agree with you, by the way. Absolutely 1000% agree with you. There's also a little bit less talked about aspect to this, and this is that Israel has a long history of intelligence collaboration with the Turkish government. There was a lot of intelligence exchange. There was a lot of joint operation on Turkish soil, and so on and so on. And I think that the Turkish intelligence agencies over there sort of have a glimpse, a very good glimpse and very good understanding of how Israeli intelligent agencies work, especially the Mossad. And I think it worries Israel as well to openly declare some sort of a situation with Turkey, which they have to do sooner or later, because I mean Erdogan is going completely crazy. Then Israel will have a problem of methods exposure, and I don't know, it probably has a better term in English, but I don't have the language skills to come up with the right term for that. But I think you guys pretty much understand what I mean by that. And I don't know, and we need also the Turkish intelligence, especially if Hamas leaders are moving there, and especially the centers that they have that are completely full of key figures in the Muslim Brotherhood, which is also have a common strategic border here with Jordan, which you also have the Muslim Brotherhood taking over the streets. And if you want to if this would be the next terror organization that we will have to deal with for the second time, I definitely think that we need intelligence on Turkish soil. And it will be very hard to do when the relationships between Turkey and Israel are hostile, especially if any response is coming from the Israeli side. So when it comes to Turkey, Israel seriously has its knife on its neck. It's not like handling Iran or Jordan or Egypt. This is something completely different. It has also huge economical consequences, financial consequences. Our freaking tomatoes, although we have great soil for growing tomatoes here, our tomatoes are coming from Turkey. So like the metal that we use, the concrete to build houses, to build our bomb shelters, the building materials, it's all coming from Turkey. So
Textiles, you will all be naked.
yeah, we will be, I mean, we don't have 25 years now to develop a local infrastructure that makes us completely non-dependent in anyone, including military industry. But first of all, we don't have the territory for that. And second of all, we don't have the financial capabilities. And we don't have the time to build something like that now out of scratch. Israel was importing too much. There were so many articles warning from that already since 2012. And here we are, you know. I don't know. Diamonds are being made under pressure, someone said, so. Okay, I didn't mean to go that deep.
No. Speaking of pressure, just now and through the end of that space, I heard your phone just buzzing nonstop. I hear the notifications. It literally every 2 seconds. Bzz, bzz. I know you're getting blown up while the whole space is going on. I just felt kind of bad. I was like, damn.
I'm bombarded from all directions. First of all, I'm a member in way too many Telegram groups, and we confirm stuff amongst ourselves. So as soon as someone sends something, we're all over Telegram, like checking to see what their channels are writing and what our channels are writing, and where's the truth somewhere in the middle. And you try to confirm that shit. So yeah, my notifications are insane right now.
Oh man, yeah, I heard it even just now. It went off 3 times. It's just kind of funny. No, yeah, never stopping working. But yeah, no, it was good. I don't apologize for going too deep into whatever. You're totally fine.
In the rabbit hole.
Let's do it again. Leslie, was your hand up? Thought I saw your hand up.
No, it's not working on my side, so I'll just jump in whenever I see this space. Don't worry about me.
Okay.
Okay. Although I could see your hand before when you wrote me at the end. Yeah. I saw it before.
So maybe it's on my side that doesn't work. It doesn't show on my side.
That's weird. Okay. Well, I don't know. I feel like that at this point, like we will just keep seeing these eliminations happening in Lebanon, and as I said in the previous space, more actions in on the Syrian-Lebanese border. I don't see anything happening with the UN anytime soon. I think that nothing going to be done against what's happening with Turkey. I think that NATO is too afraid of a change, although it exists in a completely changed world right now. And I think the only way that they will shift a little bit, like this old way of thinking, and will understand that the BRICS countries are a real threat in every day that passes, they will have to get a major blow somehow, just like Israel did.
NATO, Noya, but when I look here in Europe, it seems that NATO is mostly occupied with two things: the Ukraine war and whether Trump will withdraw from NATO or not. That is at least what I see in the media of, for instance, the Netherlands,
and
UK,
some sexual conspiracies as well.
Yeah, but I was not planning to go there. Because they still remember that Trump left a little bit in the middle, whether countries who do not meet the current expenditure on defense, the 2% of GDP, they're about. You got about 23 of the 32 NATO countries meet now the norms. The other countries do not meet the norms yet for spending on defense. And Trump kind of indicated before that he was not sure whether he would defend anyone who was not meeting his financial obligations. Now, another is Ukraine, where on the one hand, they're trying to think about two strategies, at least what I see. The one hand is, okay, if Trump completely abandons Ukraine, can we step in enough to replace whatever aid the UK, the US is giving? And the very short and simple answer is they can only do it financially, but not militarily. It's as simple as that. The other thing is whether Trump will pressure Zelensky into territorial concessions. And there is concern that if Zelensky is forced into territorial concessions, basically abandoning part of his country, and that Russia can hold on to part of the land or all of the land that it has currently occupied in Ukraine, that either Russia will then set its eyes on Moldova, Georgia, and possibly the Baltic states. So that's also concerned. So especially the NATO countries on the eastern front or the eastern border of NATO are very much concerned. They've also been asking other NATO countries for placing more and more troops there in the Baltic states, in Poland, in Romania, Hungary, the different countries on the eastern border. So there's a lot of hesitation currently. But what Trump will do with that. And the other issues, I don't really see them at the moment being at least out in the public being discussed.
Hey, this is John. To me, this seems like history just repeating itself over and over again. The Eastern Baltic states, they're pretty well prepared for a conflict with Russia. I mean, so, and I don't, from an American perspective, I don't believe the fake news anymore that Vladimir Putin is Adolf Hitler, because now Donald Trump is also Adolf Hitler. So I don't believe in any of this propaganda anymore, which is essentially just live our lives to have a conflict with Russia. I don't want to buy into that narrative anymore.
The problem with Tulsi Gabbard, if she becomes the director of national intelligence, is that she's going to start deconstructing the problems within those agencies, which is that they are spreading misinformation and disinformation and causing a lot of hateful propaganda, which results in conflict and deception. And so, we need to make peace with Russia, and we should withdraw from NATO. France is sending 50,000 French Foreign Legions, soldiers over there. Ukraine is the modern day battleground dumping state of the military industrial complex. And they don't want the war to end because there's so much money tied up into the conflict. If Ukraine has to make...
John, one second. I want to stop on that point when you said that the U.S. should withdraw from NATO. We also had conversation regarding should Israel do that as well. But Leslie, I know I asked you this before, but can you remind, please, also the audience as well, what are, really in short, what are the consequences of the U.S. Or Israel, but in that case the U.S. pulling out of NATO?
I mean, Israel is not part of NATO, so Israel is a non-NATO ally of NATO.
Sorry, I meant the U.S., yeah.
So, now when it comes to the U.S. pulling out of NATO, the U.S. has so many military bases all over the world that if it would pull out of NATO, for example, it will start losing that stronghold all over the place, because a lot of those bases are also NATO bases, or they're joint bases with other armies. So it will lose a lot of intelligence, a lot of power to make decisions on pressure people, pressure leaders, things like that. So now there is one issue that I have with NATO, and this is something that I've had since the start, since I learned about NATO, which is the United States is mandated to protect not only the NATO countries, but also their foreign lands. So for example, like little islands that they still have under their administration and things like that. Now, when it comes to the U.S., NATO is only mandated to protecting mainland United States. So if somebody wants to go after Hawaii, for example, it wouldn't take into effect because it's only mainland. And that is a big issue that I've had with NATO, because it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, nobody needs to protect the mainland.
Wait. I'm trying to understand something.
She's saying there's a reciprocal deal, but that reciprocal deal is essentially, useless. I mean, the United States of America doesn't need protection from NATO. I don't even know why you're talking about this. It makes no sense.
Wait, 1 second.
No. There is, because let's take for example, you take a intercontinental missile that might be shot from Iran. Let's take that as an example. It has to travel, through a lot of different countries that would potentially have the ability of stopping it before it gets to the mainland U.S. So there is an advantage there that you can't deny.
Yeah.
Having, all these things, surrounding you. Okay, there's a big ocean, but all these countries can also protect you. So there is a benefit.
I get it, but you have to understand that Americans and American taxpayers do not want to keep funding this type of activity. Your average taxpayer, if they're aware of the Constitution, knows that none of this is in our actual Constitution. So with Tulsi Gabbard and the Trump administration coming in, there's a very libertarian edge to the Republicanism. You're going to see a lot of spending cuts and a lot of unhappy partners that won't be getting their multi-billion-dollar checks, like Zelensky. And he's got to go. His time is finished, and he might be brought up on criminal charges. The backing in the United States under Joe Biden, and it's over. You're talking about a seismic shift, not just an incremental shift. You're talking about a complete reversal, an up-down flip. America is going to be more strategic in terms of its activities because of financial constraints. The United States of America is now $40 trillion in debt. You may not like what I'm saying, but you can guarantee a reckoning is coming when Donald Trump gets into the White House, a major reckoning. A lot of stuff is going to be eliminated, flipped, and completely. You can't even estimate what is going to happen, but your narratives and your opinions will be completely crushed.
I don't know, what do you know about our opinions stories or our narratives that much, or rather you even know them, because even within this panel they are very different from one another. But again, this is not about whether we know the truth, do not know the truth, whether your truth is the same as our truth, but we are pretty much fact-based around here, and we don't just throw stuff in the air. And it's not true also that we don't like what you're saying. I find the probability of the United States pulling out of NATO very interesting, to be honest. And earlier I just mixed up a little bit NATO and UN. I don't know, I had the UN in my head. There were also discussion about Israel pulling out of the UN. When push comes to shove, and if I understood what Leslie was explaining correctly, and Leslie, please correct me if I'm wrong, if the United States as part of NATO should basically participate in protecting NATO countries, what happens if theoretically Turkey, for example, is attacking Israel? Israel is not a NATO country, but Turkey is a NATO country. Would be the the U.S. administration obligated to protect its ally of the Middle East, Israel, or to protect, assist, or I don't know, do anything with Turkey, the NATO country?
So if a NATO country attacks first, there is no mandate of any NATO country getting involved. Like it doesn't apply. So if Turkey would be the first one to throw the first rock, there's nothing that will say any NATO country has to go and save his ass. Now, if Israel is the one that launches the first stone, then Article 5 should apply, which means an attack on one is an attack on all, and theoretically, it should mean that everybody should be protecting Turkey. So
if I put my military strategist hat, just for a second, let's play pretend. If I would be Turkey, I would do anything in order to provoke Israel to go on a war with me.
100%.
Okay. So that's a theory to consider with watching what's happening with Turkey. Because this is exactly what
Turkey is a paper tiger. Their military, their society,
No,
their
they're not.
culture.
They're not, man.
You
They're
you
really
think
not.
they're a great military force capable of achieving dramatic ends and objectives? No, they're not. They're a very laissez-faire society.
John, after the US, they're the biggest army in NATO. They're the second largest army. Plus,
I know, but what's the anxiety and fear about Turkey? I mean, I eat turkey for Thanksgiving every year. It's coming up. I love turkey.
So I'll tell you something. Turkey has Erdogan has in his brain to revive the Ottoman Empire, basically. That's really what he wants. That's what he talks about it openly. That's what goes on their news openly, that in their dreams they want to start implementing the new Ottoman Empire by 2025.
So he's a Zionist then. I mean, he believes in Turkey first, or America first, or Israel first. I mean, I don't understand.
No,
What is the
no,
criticism for
no,
somebody
no,
who's
no,
using political
you're
identity
confused.
politics?
You're confused.
He's
One
using
second.
identity politics through, and that's what he's doing when he makes those statements.
No, 1 second. You're confusing, reviving the Ottoman Empire as in, they stay within the boundaries of Turkey, to the notion that they're going to expand into other countries that are, used to be part of the Ottoman Empire before World War I. So
Got it. So you want American taxpayers to keep funding U.S. military presence over there to keep them in check. Got it. I can assure you, American taxpayers are sick of paying for international regime change and international security services. Those are the responsibilities of neighboring countries to start providing their own security. And yes, the U.S. should pull out of the United Nations. They should have their land taken away. That building in New York should be gone. We shouldn't be supporting this nonsense anymore. It's not 1946 anymore. It's 2024. And the United States is $40 trillion in debt. Nobody wants to keep paying for all you international people. I'm sorry. If you're not an American and we're not spending American dollars here in America, we're sick and tired of it. And this is what the Trump administration is coming into power to do.
Okay, John. John, take a breath 1 second.
Okay, but John, look, John, you cannot be anymore as an American an isolationist. It no longer exists. This is a global world. Everything that happens in the world now affects everybody. So what you can do is you can have a sort of hybrid isolationism where you only support certain places or certain countries, but you can't just pull straight out of NATO cold turkey, pun intended. You know, it's got to be a transition if you're going to pull out of NATO.
Well,
But the
yeah,
United States has
transitioning
full
is
on-
part of the
hold on,
trans
hold on.
agenda, and people are sick of the trans agenda.
The United States land all across the world. All of our military bases is sovereign U.S. soil. So if those bases is attacked, that is no different than if Hawaii or Florida or New York is attacked. Okay, it is not as if it's just a territory where whatever, they attacked it, no problem. No, it's sovereign U.S. land. And if you attack our troops, we'll go to war. We will activate Article 5 of NATO, and we will go to war with whoever attacks us. That's just how it works. It is a global issue at this point. And I yield.
I just want to add one more thing for you, John, which is one of the things that NATO has, not NATO, but Turkey, being part of NATO, has always sort of been good at, you know, if we want to talk about the positive side, is it has always been sort of this buffer zone between the Middle East and Europe when it comes to the flood of refugees. A lot of them, you know, kind of like transit through Turkey. Now, if you didn't have that relationship with them and they would just start flooding into Europe, and then this becomes a European problem, it also becomes an American problem. A lot of the immigrants that are going into the US that are not from Latin America, they are traveling from Europe into some Latin American country, let's say Nicaragua or Venezuela, and then from there transiting all the way north to the United States. Yes, I know the border should be closed, but right now it's not. And it's not going to happen overnight.
So you're saying we should close the border internationally as opposed to closing our border here domestically?
This is your land border. You know, the same border that Mexicans use to cross into the United States. It's exactly the same border that the jihadists are using to crossing into the United States. So now
I get it. And now we have a strong border protection chief who's actually going to put a lockdown in place and maybe deploy the military. Americans have to start thinking domestically as opposed to internationally. It's just my opinion.
No, you're absolutely right. But the point is that there's a lot of trickle down effects when you start doing those things that can make it harder for you to start controlling your border, especially right now when it is not controlled. So if you all of a sudden pull out of NATO, and you start getting a flood of refugees going into the United States that you can't stop. And
we could stop them.
At the same time, where you're trying to put some order in what you already have, you have a failed agenda. You know,
I get it. The point is, go to usdebtclock.org and look at the actual numbers. You people, and not when I don't say you people, I'm just saying that in general, we have to be fiscally responsible. And you can go to usdebtclock.org and see the real fiscal financial projections of the United States government and taxpayers. There's no money to do what you guys want to do. I hate to tell you this. They're not going to keep spending money on this. They're going to be very strategic in the White House on how they're spending U.S. assets.
Why do you think there's no money for national security?
There is money. It's called the NDAA. It's $1 trillion a year. And they audited the Pentagon. They don't even know where $100 billion is or $1 trillion. The point is, the new Trump government is going to F shit up. There is no way that they don't make a slash and burn move. They're going to slash and burn a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but you're okay. So you're trying to say that we should cut defense spending is essentially what you're saying, and that's just not going to happen.
100%, and they are going to cut defense spending. They might cut it by 40%, which is $400 billion a year.
All due respect, if you think that the Trump administration is going to cut $400 billion from the Department of Defense, you're crazy. Crazy.
It's just my opinion, sir, but to call me crazy to think that we could save $400 billion a year as opposed to funding NATO to continue a war in Ukraine, you're the crazy one, and you're the one doing projections, sir.
Do you think that we're going to cut spending at the cost of our national security?
Have you heard of budgets, and have you heard of tax revenue? Things are actual real in this world. You don't just use the Federal Reserve to keep printing hundreds of billions of dollars that you don't collect in tax revenue.
First of all, wow, John, like just chill, like just a little bit less on the gas pedal, man. Like it's cool to have a conversation, but like I don't know, like at least allow some sort of response. We also have Brian and Michael that have their hands up, and let's just chill for a second, make a round, and go back to that. I have a lot to tell you. During this time, you can maybe Google a little bit how much the U.S. every dollar that it spends on Israel specifically, it's getting the same dollar back.
Oh, dollar for dollar with Israel, baby. That's
And
right.
also, I mean, I think according to what Leslie has just explained to you, and also Parker, I think it's pretty obvious that if the U.S. will not invest in those assets in the area and will not have those, you would have much more 9/11s happening.
Oh, really? More 9/11s. Wow. Wow, more 9/11s. More 9/11s, baby. Keep spending $1 trillion a year so we don't have more 9/11s. Holy fuck.
United States very much exposed. I know you guys are surrounded with an ocean and you guys have a great army, but still, even Israel has ocean all around it, and I can tell you that the drones were and still are our main problem. And this is a whole other game
Immunity.
when it comes to urban environment and the usage of explosive drones. And regardless of how much the Patriot or the Iron Dome or the Vulcans are a great air defense, they are still managing to penetrate. And I think that this is something worth mentioning. Now I would like to go to Brian and Michael for a second, then we can circle back to you, John. Brian, give us the
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to say, in addition to what Leslie said, if you withdraw from NATO, you can do that. But like she said, you will lose bases and information and
Information.
And it's either a choice whether you fight your enemies abroad or in the streets of America. And
These people are so
today's
stupid.
world is not like it was in the 20th century.
If we don't fight him over there, we gotta fight him here. Oh, really?
With weapons.
No, we don't have to fight him here because they won't be here. They'll be over
The
there.
U.S. has certain weapons that can reach the whole globe. So do some of the main adversaries of the U.S. have capable weapons that can span the entire globe, or nearly. And if you do not want, like Noya Truth were also saying, Parker, I still have to get used to your new name. But if you don't want new 9/11s, you better confront these groups where they are. You better confront them. And then both NATO, but also Israel, are the first line of defense. They are very important eyes and ears of the U.S. You would not believe the amount of intelligence the U.S. gets, for instance, from Israel, and also from some NATO countries. And yes, there might be things you can cut back on. I mean, there's probably also some ways going on. But I will caution you that if you give up strategic positions and alliances in a world where you see hostile nations like China, like Russia, like North Korea, like Iran, trying to get closer and closer in relations, in alliances, I've lately been thinking that they might even be moving towards a sort of new Warsaw Pact. For those of you who remember what that was the old military pact or alliance that was basically like the nemesis of NATO. And it was formed by the old Soviet Union, which at the heart was Russia with some of the current surrounding countries, with some Eastern European countries. Now you see a different alignment now by countries. Now the worst thing you could do, and the greatest gift you could give right now to China, to Iran, or to Russia or North Korea would be to withdraw from your alliances and think you can do it all alone. Because if you think that, well, they could easily deploy an alliance where they, or a strategy where they will ignite hotspots and conflicts at the same time in Asia, for instance, surrounding the South China Sea or Taiwan, in the Middle East, and in Europe, and that will touch vital U.S. interest. And the U.S. does not, at the moment, have the forces to confront enemies and vital U.S. interests in 3 or more theaters at the same time. You will need, even though the U.S. is the strongest by far in the world, you do need allies. So.
No, we don't. We don't need allies. We just don't. I don't want to be friends with the French or the British. Let them deal with their own problems. I'm not, as a taxpayer, I'm not going to keep paying for it. I'm done.
You need allies.
We don't need you. We don't need you.
And with that, back to you, Noya and Parker.
It's just your opinion. Put me in your queue. I don't want to be disrespectful, but put me in your queue.
John, that's not how it's not a wild west around here. Okay?
Oh!
We have rockets above our heads. We don't need any more stress that we don't want. Brian, I love it how we.
Well, if you don't like accurate assessment, have a good day, young lady. Enjoy your free taxpayer money. We're sick of giving you our dollars.
All right, hold on, Noya. So,
No, wait, 1 second. It's fine. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out.
Okay, Raboino Shaloilo, and take care. Bye-bye.
Okay.
yeah, sorry.
Troll.
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out.
Okay, Raboino Shaloilo, and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, so sorry everybody for having to mute. But look, so it's clear that this guy doesn't understand, anything about.
I know nothing.
So, for instance,
My brain is stupid. My brain is retarded.
How Joe Biden handled that when he pulled out of Afghanistan.
Joe Biden did a great job.
With all those bases in Afghanistan, all, if not most of them, are now taken over by China. China has complete control over there.
China.
We have given up our foothold in that area for nothing. We lost it to an adversary.
We lost it for nothing. Thousands of people died getting it. Then they gave it away because they shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Russia and China will take over, and they will now be.
Russia and China are taking over. Oh no! Russia, China!
Too far up his ass that he couldn't see what was really going on.
Can't see what's happening. I have no foresight.
That will go to hands. Noya, who was next?
I just want to add one
Michael.
more thing. No, everybody forgets about Alaska. Literally
Alaska?
in the winter, Russians can walk into Alaska if they wanted to.
Really?
So, don't
They're gonna
forget
attack
it's
Alaska!
not just the continental side.
They're gonna walk across the land bridge and attack and invade Alaska!
Anything know about it, snow. Definitely. The Finns
The Russians know snow warfare better
Yeah.
than anybody on the
Michael,
planet.
you wanted to say something. You had your hand up for quite a while.
Yes, I just wanted to push back on one of the things that Leslie said, just a tiny bit. With the ICBMs, most of them do leave the atmosphere. And the countries along the way don't have like a space program or a Patriot missile battery to somehow take them out, like with that Iranian drone and missile strike a few months ago. When the Patriot missile battery did defend Israel from that ICBM that was outside of the atmosphere. An amazing feat.
It was the Arrow 3 system, by the way.
It was the Arrow 3. Yeah, so it really does make sense for NATO to still be a thing, and
I destroyed this room. They're all demotivated and demoralized.
the police of the world. America,
That's right. We're not the fucking police of the world, man.
No, you're not. I think, Michael, they should be just a coalition of free countries and BRICS.
right, but how it is.
This is just, it will come to that.
Like the strongest navy has to basically police the world, right? Otherwise, you get Somali pirates like taking over cargo vessels, right?
Yeah, destroy them. The cargo vessels should have weapons, and when they get attacked, they destroy the
that's not
Somalis.
100%
That's
accurate,
called
but
doing
yeah,
business.
it's the case.
If you come try to
Right,
kill us,
it's the
we'll
case
kill
that
you.
happens, but
I
don't know.
destroyed this
You need-
room.
I think you
I
need a
took
free
the-
countries
this
coalition
room is
to
crashed.
actually,
I've removed their
per
fucking
definition when it comes
their
to,
their
like,
projectile
organized
vomit
violence like that.
projection.
You would need to be a conflict-free zone, a democratic country, obviously that is not run by a religious body or by
Can't have religion in government. No. That's an all or nothing statement.
Who else is stepping up in the meantime?
It's not even an all or nothing statement.
Nobody.
That's
Uh,
why, you know, we have to.
Have I become smarter and I've realized everyone is stupid? Or am I stupid and everyone is smarter? Which one is it? I think I'm going with this guy. It's just me. Ooh, Biden is escalating
NATO
Ukraine.
within itself, you also have to remember they don't have a lot of fighting experience. They are more like peacekeepers. The Air Force, things like that. But on ground experience, NATO is very flimsy on it. So you also have to think that they maybe also don't want to get into those things because they will be losing a lot of soldiers. I mean, that's not just from America, but from all the NATO countries. Look at Norway. The Norway forces are, they suck.
Maybe that's the issue at its core. They're not ready to step up.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a big part of it. I don't know. I mean, Brian knows more about it, but I think part of it might be related to that.
I mean, each country, the people that they're gonna send to NATO are not gonna be like their best of warriors. And also, training is everything. Even Israel wasn't prepared for a lot of things that happened when our troops got into Gaza. But I think that NATO has a numbers advantage in a way of or the combination of all these countries and different techniques, but they have very, very, very little field experience. Also, for how many years can you be a NATO soldier, right? Not until you're 70 or 60 or 50 even. So, I mean, it's a very limited time, and these kids, they don't know wars at all. And on the other hand, you have the Turkish army that is doing a drill every freaking Sunday, and with everybody, and have stuff from the Chinese and stuff from the Russians and stuff from everywhere, and it's different. It's just a very different.
I'm different. I'm different. I'm different. Different.
More interesting and more present in the constellation and the shifts of what's happening in the Middle East. I think even especially the Iranian regime will be toppled.
This is some fake Benjamin Netanyahu news.
That
Bibi's in the
Turkey will
hospital.
step in as the new proxy master, and then you're gonna have the same constellation with just different organizations that are cheaper to fund at the moment. Okay, Sima, you had your hand quite a while. What do you got for us?
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't see it. I was rubber banding what. I'm just waiting till you guys finish your NATO talks. I'm originally Iranian, living in Europe, and I wanted to bring you a perspective from Iran to this conversation, if you allow me. But if you want to continue on me, so I can keep quiet for a while.
No, sure, go ahead. Just so you know, because we have you for the first time in the space. We do know everything about the revolution or the coup, and we know everything about the Shah and 1979, and we.
Yes, you don't want me to lecture you on any historical point. I'm not gonna bother you with that. So don't worry. No, I just wanted the recent talks and the fake news from New York Times, and I heard Brian said eloquently that the new Trump administration is actually. He has a lineup of people knowing the Islamic regime very well and has have history of being against it. But the recent talks that I also hear from the Persian side of the story is that I think they try to push a narrative that this big fucker Ayatollah Khamenei is on the deathbed, and I think they try really hard to push for his son and some sort of like making him like this narrative is actually going on that he's supposed to be some sort of a reformist. And I think they try to do show like, he's gonna be like BMS with Saudi, so he's more reformist. That is all BS all the way long. Yeah, I think the only difference is, fortunately, the United States of America is not Iran, so it's not a dictatorship. And I think these stupid backward mullahs and IRGC are betting that, okay, let's see, this 4 years, let us keep them busy with this idea of there's going to be a new, younger, reformist mullah in power. And so, who knows, maybe in 4 years there's going to be another liberal Democrat on power, like Biden, and we continue, you know, like that's going to be my only fear. So, just wanted to light a little bit.
No, I get you. I totally get you. I really hope the West will not buy into it. I mean, we're not even buying into Pezeshkian, so we're definitely not going to think that Mujtaba Khamenei is like a fucking reformist. I mean, he's a shit human being. So, definitely, we will not fall for that. I hope the U.S. administration either. Fusilier, I always love seeing you on my spaces. It's such an honor when you come around. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, very good, Noah. How are you? Really good to hear your voice. Yeah, no, it's it was. I wasn't going to come up and comment this morning, but I heard some discussion about NATO, and there's a couple of things. You know, I heard Brian giving a really good response to the lunatic who came up. You know,
Lunatic!
There's a couple of things I'd say.
Lunatic!
Nation
Outrageous! Slander! Libel!
Purely in its national interest, life would be a lot simpler. The United States is a classic example. Don't, for one moment...
Whenever I hear an Englishman say a classic example,
is part of NATO for our
get ready for the propaganda part. Here we go.
The United States is not a global superpower to benefit other countries. The United States is a superpower because it's to the benefit of the United States. NATO exists.
Really? We're $40 trillion in debt, asshole. This country has no money to spend. None. None.
Know about something.
Everything should go to paying back the debt. That's it. Let all these people around the world deal with their problems.
So,
we'll sell you weapons. We'll profit from you to pay down our debt. You can kill each other. We don't care. Enjoy. Enjoy.
Of course, the United States has been a benefit to the countries in NATO, having the biggest dog on the planet guarding your tent.
Guarding your tent?
The economic, political,
I swear to God, everybody just wants money out of the U.S. That's all that's happening here. Every single country around the world is like, how can we get more dollars?
Underrated, you know, the ability. America is a trading nation, a business nation.
Really? Is it really? Fucking great insight. Such intelligent insight. United States of America conducts business. Did you know that?
National interest. As for the fighting capabilities of NATO, or the
This is the problem, Clownhouse versus X. I can't, like,
first and foremost,
you know,
for a number of
respond,
years in
basically.
Afghanistan, a country which provided 12% of the fighting troops was undertaking 70% of the ticks and taking 70% of the casualties in Afghanistan, and it was not the United States.
It was British.
And there are many nations within NATO which have significant operational experience and are to the benefit of the United States. The fact that Finland and Sweden have joined the organisation...
Finland and Sweden?
...should give some indication, both of which have very capable militaries. Remember, virtually all of NATO has professional military forces. And that is hugely advantageous. Were you to compare them to those of the Russian Federation, it literally is chalk and cheese.
Chalk and cheese compared to the Russian Federation?
5 minutes against a professional Polish brigade or a Finnish brigade.
A Polish brigade? Or a Finnish brigade?
They lost to the Finns before.
Yeah, absolutely.
They tried to conquer Finland. These idiots.
So, you know, I just caution everybody. You know,
Caution.
There's a reason
A word of
the United
caution.
States remains engaged in the world. There is a reason that the United States is part of NATO, and it's because
It's a reason. It's because we gotta spend the money on it. That's the reason why.
an incoming Trump administration from pressuring or inducing its NATO allies to be more active, to spend more. Absolutely not. Is the United
Bollocks!
States
Absolutely
the
not.
most powerful member of the NATO alliance? Absolutely. But it doesn't run the NATO alliance. It doesn't control the NATO alliance. The Supreme Allied Commander of Europe is always an American. But he does listen to his British, to his French, to his German counterparts.
It's German counterparts.
It's
Bollocks!
not an autocracy. So,
These assholes.
NATO has-
They can't just stop fighting each other. You know, we don't have to fight them over here because we fight them over there.
If I can, from a personal perspective, Nora, you won't be old enough.
All communication is hypnosis. Here comes the history part. You weren't old enough, but I've got the history memory. I'm going to hypnotize you with it now. Here we go.
In the former Yugoslavia, under
Former Yugoslavia.
shambles, and the
America should. Unfortunately, America is the one responsible for a lot of the operations, as opposed to just selling them. When we sell the weapons, they're not going to use them. We've got to make them use them.
And in doing so, they often hit UN forces, and many of those UN forces came from NATO countries.
UN forces came from NATO countries. Really? Maybe they're connected somehow.
The UN forces that were provided by NATO countries changed from
Your
being
post has been deleted. I violated community standards.
under UN command
Great.
to being under NATO command. That war was stopped within months.
Ah!
NATO.
Rabbi Shmuley.
So yes.
Why is Rabbi
the
Shmuley
NATO
talking to me through my cell
is
phone?
in America's national interest. America, an isolationist America, has little control over both geostrategic events that impact upon it, but more importantly, when it comes to trade, when it comes to influence, when it comes to setting the world order, the rules by which we all play on everything, politics, economy, cultural,
Look
everything
at
else.
this poor kid who died in Gaza.
If you do that.
An IDF soldier. He looks like
I'm
he's
a
17.
great believer that
What
America
happened?
has, on balance, been a great force for good in the world since World War II. And, you know, yes, of course, we should understand that,
Tragic!
recognise it, and thank the United States and its citizens
Tragic.
for the
It's so
peace and
tragic.
stability that it's brought Europe and much of the rest of the world. But it's also been in America's interest to do so, and we shouldn't lose sight of that fact. And isolationism is just, you know, it's a trope that those who are hostile to the United States
Mass
and other,
deportations for a happy
democracies
Chicago.
trot out in order to enhance their own power in the hope that the NATO alliance will break down. And people should be very careful of what they wish for. That's it, Noah. Rant over.
Yeah, I mean, even
Great
no, it's
space,
totally
brother.
fine. Even our
Great
enemies are making
space.
alliances. I mean, there's
Our
no way
enemies are
around
making
it.
alliances, so we have to
But
make our
I
alliances and
just
confirm our
know
alliances.
that in an ideal world, Israel would become a part of NATO.
Dude, this
and
guy
Turkey
Jake Paul's a
would be out
fucking
of it.
Goliath.
But this
Oh
is not
my
the world
god,
that
it's
we are living
unbelievable.
in. But it would change the whole surface of the Gaza war and how it would have looked like if Israel would have been a NATO member.
So let me put this another way, Noah. Turkey, you know, has always been an enigma.
Jake Paul.
And it sits on the edge of Europe. It basically sits on the southern flank of Europe, and it marches to the tune of to the beat of its own drum. There's a saying.
Okay, I'm gonna leave here shortly. This is like a great room to live stream. This is the open source intelligence room on X, Twitter. I was just labeled a lunatic for saying, as a taxpayer, I don't want to pay for any Patriot missile battery systems to protect the United States of America. By you got it. You saw. You watched. You know what's happening. Money, 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 money.
for
Money,
control
money,
is
money,
just one word.
money.
Influence.
Money, money, money. Hey.
In a very
Everybody loves money.
whilst it's not perfect, it's better than a Turkey that is unburdened by NATO.
Unburdened, but what has been?
And remember Article 5
Unburdened.
of the NATO.
I heard somebody last night say unburdened at the bar.
doesn't,
They're
it's
just
not
like
automatic.
they knew he knew what he was saying. He was bringing up the Kamala quote. It was pretty funny. I caught him. I was like, unburdened, huh? He's like, yeah, unburdened.
That wouldn't happen. I wouldn't worry too much about.
All right, so here's Adrian Dittman. Guess who? It's me, Adrian Dittman.
Turkey, and I say this as the son of a Cypriot. It's better to have Turkey inside NATO than outside NATO.
It's better to have him under control than not in control.
Interesting. Amir, I saw that you were thumbs downing over there. Do you disagree?
No, actually, I took, there was a lot of discussion, so I took a few notes on bullet points, which I like to kind of cover, but I want to make...
I can't hear Amir, so I'm going to just drop down. Sorry, Amir, I'll drop down.
Sorry, Amir, gotta go. Can't hear you, nobody interrupt. Take care now, love. Bye-bye.
So,
If you can't hear him, just shut the fuck up and drop.
You have a little bit of concern around Turkey and its from Qatar, but Turkey in general has always been more of a military state.
Really?
And there have been many coups by the military.
That's right.
Removing the Turkish prime ministers. So you have to look at more. Don't look at current events.
They brought me back up.
Look at the historical events. Turkey is needed by NATO, because it's a buffer between Russia and Europe. Turkey is needed by Europe and United States because it's at a pivotal point. I'm talking about more geopolitically and geostrategic. It's at the tip of Middle East, and it has a very secular population. Even though you see some crazy idiots on the streets, Turkey is very secular.
They did bring me back up, so I'll try to say something intelligent and calmly and peacefully so I don't upset everybody.
And they very much like to be European than anything else.
But I do gotta go to the gym, and I have voted Trump.
They like to be European, considered to be European. Now, you got Erdogan, who is corrupt, who is very much Islamist, but at the same time, he's very pragmatic. He does understand current economic situation in Turkey. Turkey's economy is falling. It has a high inflation rate, high unemployment rate, and a lot of the companies have moved away from Turkey. So Turkey does need European and Western investments. The other thing is, look at what happened in the mayor fight in Turkey, in Istanbul. That was a big defeat for Erdogan. Istanbul was a key battleground for Erdogan, and an opposition to Erdogan won by high numbers. And of course, we saw the street fights and all that stuff in Turkey. So I would recommend not undermine Turkey's historical events, because if I remember, people were concerned when there was a gentleman named Öcalan, which was the PKK leader, and Kurds everywhere around the world loved the guy, Öcalan. And Turkey never assassinated him or killed him, because they know if they kill Öcalan, and he's been in jail since Uzal. I remember Uzal, he was the prime minister then. And he's been there, he's in jail. Now, moving to NATO, we have a friend who believes that NATO is irrelevant and the United States needs to move away from it. He's a typical American who believes the taxpayers have a lot of say. And I do agree.
that taxpayers have a lot of say, but at the end of the day, decision making is not made by taxpayers. It's made in behind closed doors, and a lot of the decision makings governments make, it's not because of what the taxpayers think. It's more of Americans' interest in the world. I think United States always has its own best interest in mind, even when it comes to Israel. Even though when they support Israel, they understand they need Israel for their own protection in that area. They don't do this because they're trying to give food away. They're doing this because they're of their own interest. It's the only stable country in that region. It's a democratic country in that region. It's a prosperous country in that region. And it has shown that it can be stable. So Israel has shown that it can be a stable government. That's in the best interest of the United States. No country comes in there in order to help you because they love you. They come to help you in order to do their own self-interest. Has United States made bad decisions? Of course. Every country makes bad decisions. Has United States make decisions in Middle East that it does not fit their agendas? Yes or no, depends who you ask. I do think United States is investing, but they have shifted their investments now differently. It's not anymore installing leaders or bringing someone in that that fits their agenda or narrative. Like they had Noriega, they had other puppets around the world. They're now doing it more by using their proxies, like any other country does, like China does, like Russia does. The United States has shifted that, so they form alliances, such as with Israel. That's I'm not saying Israel. It's a United States puppet. It's an alliance. It's a strategic alliance, and they work together in order to accomplish joint ventures. And I think the United States is also now investing in Saudi Arabia. The United States is investing also in Europe. I really do think the world is changing, shifting gears, and it's been shifting gears since the fall of Soviet Union. They tried to figure out who is the next evil partner. So when you remember when it was Yeltsin who became the United States' best friend, alliances were forming behind the scenes by bad actors that are against the United States. Now you have China has become a big competition. But China is a new competition. If you think about it, China just evolved after Deng Xiaoping.
Instagram is useless.
In the 90s.
You can't even live stream on Instagram anymore.
Which really
It's impossible.
China's
I don't know how Rabbi Shmuley has an account.
And then, of course, you have Xi Jinping.
The algorithm hates me. The algorithm views bald assholes as the threat to the greatest threat to the algorithm. I'm gonna start putting a wig in. Should I go get my wig? It's time. I think it's time. I'm going trans. I'm gonna become a trans operative.
Compete with United States when it comes to.
Agree.
It's a different ballgame, and the reason is China is controlled by the so-called Communist Party. It's an elite.
Right. Hey, Amir, hold on.
Yeah.
Amir, hold on. Sorry, but I'm gonna let everybody know I'll be closing the space here soon. So if anybody wants to get some last words in, go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll go to Anne's. Amir, go ahead and finish what you were saying.
No, I think the only thing is don't ignore someone like John, who is an isolationist or whatever he wants. This type of mindsets are dead. If you say it's all about the United States, then you are giving credit to the Chinese and the Russians and all those dictators who want to make United States, they want to isolate United States. United States has no choice.
Added a restriction to my account.
Forming alliances. They're doing that, but it's a different way of forming alliances. It's now more through intelligence sharing. It's more through partnering, understanding if you can do what I can do for you, I'll do it for you as well. Anyway, that was my last comment. So United
can't live
States
stream.
will never become an isolationist, as some people want. The same thing they wanted the United States to become a protectionist. It didn't happen after NAFTA. You saw that. You need each other. You can never be a protectionist. You cannot become an isolationist. So stop thinking that way. Think more for future.
John, if you'd like to respond, I don't see any.
Yeah. I mean, listen, an isolationist is an all or nothing position. The United States is not an isolationist country, and I am not an isolation. Yeah, I'm speaking. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm speaking. Hello?
Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear John Parker?
No, I can't. Hold on, John. Let me recycle you. Give me a second. Hold on.
Can't hear you. What a fucking troll.
Parker, can you hear John Parker?
No, I can't. Hold on, John. Let me.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Yeah, I see the thing moving. So I was saying that, I'm not an isolationist because that's an all or nothing position. I would just encourage everyone to go to usdebtclock.org and look at the actual financial balance sheet of the United States of America. And essentially what, you are on Elon Musk's platform and he has, I think it's a meme basically, but it's called Doge, which is, Department of Government Efficiency. The United States government, unfortunately, should be profiting from these wars. It should not be spending for these wars. It shouldn't be operating these wars. The governments of the world are authoritarian. The United States government is no different than the Russian government, the French government, the German government, the Italian government. We're all in a collective hive type of mind situation. I think that the Navy soldiers on U.S. Aircraft carriers should be doing yoga and meditation classes and re-education in terms of psychology. I'm not for war. I'm for peace. I stand with Israel. And, somebody said a $1-for-$1 exchange with the Israelis, which I think it should be 10-to-1. I have no problem funding Israel. I don't like all the Islamic terrorism and jihadism that happens throughout the world. It's a sickness. But also an addiction to free fake money, or AKA borrowing money from the Federal Reserve is a sickness.
John, you're contradicting yourself. On one hand, you're saying we need to support Israel. On the other hand, you're saying the United States should look at the debt watch and look at how much our debt is growing. My friend, debt has been growing since I was born in here. They kept always showing us the numbers.
I know, but you have to understand there is a cultural shift happening with Elon Musk at the right-hand side of Donald Trump.
Elon Musk, hold on a second. I know people like to hear that is another term, is another buzzword.
Amir, you don't live in America. Amir, your opinion is irrelevant in America, sir. You're not an American. You're not in the U.S. government. You don't work for a U.S. corporation. I'm telling you, you don't have the perspective that I have. We'll have to agree to disagree, but I didn't interrupt you.
Wait, you guys. I want to hear from John. Yeah, please, one at a time. Amir, you were talking for several minutes. John came back after a cold shower. I would like to let him finish what he was saying.
Thank you.
John,
Yeah,
please.
listen, this is open source intelligence. You may not like my opinion, but you should at least listen to what I'm saying because
We're listening to you, John. No worries.
I hear you, but I'm just telling for the average listener that it's important to listen to opinions you don't agree with, and you should actually spend the time to meditate on what people are saying, which means listening and hearing. And that is the problem around the world today, is that you're not listening to what the American voters and taxpayers are saying. No one wants to keep working in the United States of America to continue to fund all of this excessive spending. $1 trillion a year for the NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act, is way too much money to be continually spending when we're only taking in $2 trillion and spending $4 trillion a year or even $5 trillion a year. We're going from $40 trillion in debt to $50 trillion to $60 trillion to $70 trillion. It's not going to stop. And Amir, I hate to tell you this, you are entitled to your opinion, But the fact is, in America, the voters have woken up because their taxes are going through the roof and they can't afford what they have now.
To tell this guy, I think he's not understanding. Dude, I live in the United States and I have 20 employees. I know more about the taxes and the wages that are going up. I can't even fund my.
Okay, Delam Barat Cheliteng Shodeser, you interrupted me. I wasn't finished with my platform speech yet. Anyways, I guess I'm finished now. But Amir, God bless you and God bless America. I'm just saying that you go to usdebtclock.org, look at the financial situation, and just realize that there's going to be drastic spending cuts, whether it's at Department of Defense, Department of Education, whatever Tulsi Gabbard is going to take control of. You're looking at the most incredible geopolitical shift and cultural shift. Trump and what is happening now, it hasn't even happened yet. But today, Joe Biden is escalating the war in Ukraine. The Department of State is spending $50 billion more, and you can go to Department of State's website and look at the weapon systems they're sending to Ukraine. 600 tanks, 600 Stinger missiles. Like, the war is escalating, and we need to de-escalate. And when Donald Trump gets into office, he's going to hopefully de-escalate, but de-escalate through strength. That's the best negotiating position to be in. And
Okay,
so
John.
I'm complete. Yeah, thank you all.
How do you cut spending but also show de-escalation through strength if you're not funding your military?
Do you know how much money we've already spent? What do you think? You have to spend money to win wars? No, you actually do actions. It's not just about spending. We've already spent the money. We've got the weapons.
Okay, John. When you do actions, how much do you think each one of these rockets costs? How much do you think
Hundreds of millions and billions for everything. You can go to Department of
So
State and
you
look at the
have-
actual assets.
So if you have a peaceful negotiation through strength, that means you have to beef up your military, which means you have to spend more. You are contradicting yourself in your statement by, we need to cut spending, but we need to show strength. We need to show strength.
Are you just addicted to spending? That's what I don't understand. Stop spending. Is that such a controversial position to even have? Do you run your life like that? Yes, you do. If you can't afford it, you stop spending.
Oh my God, you're like a fucking eighth grade girl. I'm saying,
An eighth grade girl.
right, if you cut the spending on the military, you're trying to strengthen up. That's my question to you. I want to hear your answer. How do you strengthen the military by weakening it?
Well, listen, I guess I am contradicting myself. I'm being facetious. The point is, if you run the government like a business, that means you run it as a for-profit, not a nonprofit. We're running this system as a nonprofit agency. We should be running the government as a for-profit business. And if that's the facts, that means we cut spending in order to save and pay down debt. So you survive.
You run your company. You run your company on a for-profit system. Got it. So if you cut half your employees but expect the same output in production, how is that going to be possible?
Okay, Mr. Economics Professor, I think Amir said he has 20 employees. Can you tell us, Amir, do you run your business for profit or do you run it to create debt?
I'm asking you, if you cut your staff in half and then expect the same production, how is that logical?
Okay, does Google and Microsoft and Amazon cut employees in order to save operating administrative expenses? Yes, that's what the United States government has to do. It's called saving money by cutting spending.
John, I want to correct you there because I do know about that because I worked in a business that did that. The reason why they cut and do layoffs
These people are retarded.
Is not to cut spending in order to be more profitable. It's in order to change the.
Do I really have to explain to you how math works? This is basic algebra.
1 second, let me finish.
Go ahead.
It's in order to change the books of what is the operational cost of the business in order to increase the stock value. It has absolutely nothing to do with cutting costs to be more efficient and everything to do with opening up the stock value of the company for a certain period of time when you want to sell it, when you want to get investors, etc., etc. So don't confuse the two things.
No, wait. Amir.
Everybody, hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to go to Fusilier, then we can circle back to you, Amir.
Yep, and then before we go to Fusilier, I'll just say this. No, I'm not an economic specialist. I am, however, overseeing a fleet of over 3,000 drivers, 2,000 trucks. I know what the cost of business is. If I were to cut the cost of my business, aka the insurance, the leasing of the trucks, the fuel costs, if I were to try to cut all that, my business would go out of business. So what you're saying is cutting spending. Sometimes it's just not
as feasible as it sounds.
Okay,
Ideally, you wanna cut
got
spending,
it.
but you
Understand.
don't
So
cut
we're
any-
having a competitive conversation then. Fucking faggot
You
just
don't
keeps
cut
muting
spending
me.
in the areas that you can't. You cut it in the excess areas. Right?
This is so stupid.
Great starting
You believe how
point
stupid
for
this
cutting
is?
funding, UNRWA. UNRWA is a great place to start.
Great place. Start at UNRWA now.
1,000%. Anyway, if you say go ahead.
Also, it's the NDAA, which is $1 trillion a year. The NDAA.
You say
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, so look, I think, I'm listening to this. You're all right in a way, but I think there's a massive conflation going on here about internal budget.
All right, I got to go to the gym.
US politics and geostrategic positioning.
Got to make sure that it's open now. It used to be 24 hours, but they cut back the hours to save money.
The road system, who keep the United States safe so that your thousands of trucks can drive around the highway system. We're not talking about who buys the trucks, who pays the drivers. What I mean by that is that the United States, you go and look at the growth figures.
Close at 7. We're good.
Western democracies at the moment. The reason the US emerges from global downturns and performs far more effectively is because the US writes the rules about international trade. The United States sets the conditions under which the world trades.
Really? That's an all or nothing statement. Again, please, no more all or nothing statements in the rest of your speech, sir.
And you have to, in order to play in that game, in order to be in that position, in order to establish what they call the global world order, the rules.
Too many strikes due to community guidelines. I can't upload anything anymore.
You have
Great.
to speculate to accumulate. You have to be the top dog. You can't isolate yourself.
Go big or go home.
You'll surrender the ability to control that entire network to your adversaries. Quite frankly, worrying about internal debt.
Just trying to become a big content creator one day, but I have no supporters. If you have the chance, please subscribe.
But I would argue that, the war in Ukraine, where you've got the Ukrainians bleeding the Russians dry.
The Ukrainians are bleeding the Russians dry.
It would cost the United States or NATO to do it.
These fucking British cocksuckers.
Sitting in desert storage.
They are such ruthless profiteers. I love it.
600, or where the United States is giving 600 tanks to the Ukraine at the cost of X billion dollars. That's the cost it would take to replace them. Those tanks, those M1A1 Abrams, are sitting in desert storage. They will never
Sitting in desert storage.
in Gulf War 1 and Gulf War 2. So the fact is that in order to be the world's dominant power, you have to invest. Is Britain better off now than it was when it was the world's superpower in 1904? Of course it isn't. The cost of Britain being the world superpower was absolutely crippling. The British government constantly reduced the size of the Royal Navy and the Army during those periods. But in the end, it's what kept Britain, allowed Britain to defeat Napoleon, to defeat the Kaiser, to defeat Adolf Hitler, and eventually contribute towards the defeat of the Soviet Union. So in investing huge sums of money in your military, in your geostrategic levers of power is...
Tim Waltz on Instagram messaged me. Automated, of course. Nancy Mace messaged me. Automated, of course.
But I'm talking about investing in the rules-based order, in maintaining the rules-based order. You can't see a direct ledger return on that investment. But the unseen returns are enormous in exactly the same way as Tom's trucking company couldn't function without the highway system, without the police who patrol it, without the military who keep it secure. There's no cost to Tom directly to Tom's business. He doesn't charge clients for the maintenance of the highway system, for the police, for the military, for all the governmental rules and everything else that allow him to conduct his business. But he does charge them indirectly through taxation. Now,
we are the champions, and you are the losers, 'cause we are the champions of the world.
Compared to the United States. So, conflating domestic economics with strategic issues like the war in Ukraine or how much, your maintenance of dominance as a superpower, they're just two completely different things.
Okay, I'm not Donald Trump, but Donald Trump is a businessman, and look out.
Alright, we're gonna let Fusilier finish, and then I'm closing the space. Fusilier, please finish your thoughts, and then I'm closing.
Fucking British twat.
Yeah, thanks. No, look, John, I hear what you're saying.
You don't hear what I'm saying. Donald Trump is the president. He's a businessman. He's not going to let this bullshit continue on, mate. It's a scam. It's ruining it. He killed the space. Oh, boy, that was a good one. That was a good session. So, basically, Clubhouse is like X, but even like more. You see what I'm saying? X and Clubhouse. Just two different situations. I don't know. It takes a long time to build a Clubhouse account to like go into those rooms and do what I do. But anyways, that was a great space. How many followers did I get? 0. Nobody cares what I have to say. I'm a lunatic. Oh, look, my account's been locked. They reported my account. Now I have to verify my email. Oh my God. Can you believe this shit? Somebody doesn't like what you have to say, they report you. Oh, and I don't even have an email. Let's see. I love the fact that my accounts get deleted. Let's see here. It's amazing what you can do with a $50 phone. 013560. 013560. 013560. Continue. My account is unlocked. Adrian Dittman. I like to think that most people agree with my beliefs, my feelings, my opinions, my content. Some may not like my message, which is, we're broke. Oops. Oopsie. Do I have to explain reality to people? That's the funniest thing. It's like, we can't conflate domestic spending issues with international security protocols. Really? Recall the battle carriers and all the aircraft carriers, every tank and every asset we have abroad, bring it home for us. Crack myself up. Okay, we're headed to the gym. Thanks for being here. This is the John Kidover Show at OnlyFansVid.com. God bless you and your families. May you all live in happiness, peace, and joy, and prosperity. God bless. Godspeed. And farewell. I salute you.